handling the small claims work for the finance department for about 8 years.
Well, I think we found a little issue there. Why are we taking up the code enforcement time when we have people working at finance?
Well, because I think a few years ago we decided that they were more efficient than our actual collection agency. Because our collection agency that the council or the city had hired a while back was taking half of the money, and for them, they were only going after the easy ones. Again, collection agencies, they get paid for obviously the money they're collecting. We felt that it was it was more advantageous, and we've seen a higher return if if the code enforcement division, Mike's doing it, and Mike Razan was doing it for a long time. Through the court system, we were getting a greater return than our collection.
We get about 80% compliance.
Well, I understand that, but we got $130,000 out there outstanding. That sounded to me like
there's more than that.
we could make an improvement there and get some money out of it somehow.
You know, I wanted
I
to
don't want to
comment on
see
that.
these two ladies out there that are supposed to be doing
Small
the
claims
legwork
court.
and the field work, chasing down these non-payers. That shouldn't be, especially on a water bill. Why? That's not their.
One of the other reasons why we did it was we're a lot more comfortable in court than our finance folk. We know the processes involved and that.
I want to comment on that.
Let me hear from Councilmember Gomez first. He had a
Okay.
question.
No, actually, I don't have a question. I just have more of a comment. Well, first, I want to thank you, Desiree and Carolyn, for the work that you do. You're probably as popular as our parking enforcement officer that we have out there. What you do isn't easy. It's definitely something I would not really care to do, but it's important for our city. So the work that you both do is critical, and you could see it by these numbers. So my question is more around bandwidth. So I guess, Mike, you're the supervisor, right, over code enforcement still. Are we finding enough time for our officers to do both the enforcement and administrative work? Are they finding the right balance?
I think they are. Carolyn, just started with us a few months ago. She is learning it very quickly. Desiree's been with us a year. She has the schedule down. We will be bringing another item before you in the next couple meetings to kind of get your tweak on our priorities. One of the issues we have is often we're asked to do, the flavor of the moment, garage sale signs this moment and weeds this moment and that kind of does interrupt, the real serious work that we're doing with substandard housing. Understand, substandard housing was 8% of 731 citations. That 8% represents a lot of work. And it's a lot of serious work. We're talking about families that are living in houses with no heat, no windows, roofs that leak, infestations, smoke alarms. When we get one of those, the office stops and we work it to completion because that is a priority.
Absolutely, as it should. Health and safety should be a top priority, and I'm glad you're bringing that forward. And it's also nice to have staff that is running in complete circle. They're filling out the citations, but also wrapping them up as well, because it makes it easier than just being out there doing the citation work and not handling the rest of your business. And it sounds like you guys are both doing. Are both going full circle on these, so I think that's a great way to continue running the department, because it'll bring you back to the office when you need to work on the administrative portion of it. So anyway, thank you both for your work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Luna, you had a comment?
Just a comment on the utilities. Just remembering back, 10 years back, the finance department did everything. We were actually trained in court by the judge and an attorney. And it was our duty, and we took turns doing that. So I'm just wondering, I agree with Ray. They are so busy. There's just so many violations there that the city needs to be taken care of. Is there any way that we can reconsider the utility to go back to the finance?
Let me say one thing. Just for the council, keep in mind, I'm not sure if it's half of Caroline. How many? The utilities department actually pays for part of their time. So they are sort of working, code enforcement or the general fund isn't covering the cost for collecting the utility bills on behalf of the utilities. So they are contributing to their staff time. So it is sort of like an opportunity where we've been able to use them efficiently, both in finance and then out in the field. So it's not one person in the finance department going and doing collections for water bills or sewer bills, and not just one person out there doing code enforcement stuff. So it goes back and forth.
But even if you're paying them, you know, even the finance department is coming out of the budget, the time spent, I see your report and I see so many of the violations and where they're at other than finance. So if you could spend more time out in the field taking care of these instead of just finance, then, you know, that I think that would be a help to them, to that department.
Okay.
Consideration.
Well, let me,
Mr. Mayor, I
He's
have a-
never been in this situation before.
Marty, yeah, give us a second, Marty. Councilmember Friend, do you have another
Yeah, I
comment?
just wanted to thank Desiree for the report.
Right.
You're welcome.
I would like to see this a couple times a year. And
Okay.
I know that we're asking more time for you to sit down there and do this report, but if you could build a format that would give this to you very quickly, it would be nice to see this, because we like to see the numbers, you know?
Okay,
So
no
it's
problem.
nice. Thank you for the report.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to thank you. I know you get a lot of text messages from me, and you respond quickly, and it makes a difference. It really makes a difference, and I'm really impressed with what you're doing out there. I'm looking at your graph here, the chart with all the different areas where you're citing quite a few people. I don't know if you have that on screen there. No, the one that the
Oh,
scattered,
the activity map?
the activity map.
Yeah,
Do you
we're
have that on
working
there?
on it. That, we don't
Oh.
have that software, but we're definitely working on it.
You know, I've talked about the things that really get to me quickly, and it's some people don't see it as a big thing. I see it as a major thing, because when you capture those little items that people ignore, that prevents the big items from coming forward. And again, the cars on the lawns, the inoperable cars, you're all over that. The cars that are parking up on the sidewalks, blocking the sidewalks, I know that's more difficult for you because that requires an officer to come out and do a citation, or can you do that?
I do it. Yeah, we take care of that.
You can do that one?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one right here where it's 13%, where the blocking the sidewalk. We've actually given over 100 citations on that one.
And that's not a warning, that's a citation.
That's a citation. It's a health and
You know,
safety.
this weekend, I have a tendency to drive around our city quite a bit to go look for patterns, and I still can't believe how many people are still doing this. But if you look at the activity map that you presented, that's pretty much a mirror image of where all the fireworks are being blown off from. It really is. And that's why this is so important. And there's always a pattern in everything. When you find those patterns, you'll find your issues. So I appreciate your hitting these areas, and be aggressive as you are being. And I think the comment about the person doing the court, taking up your time, is if that's what we need, just one person doing that for the finance or your department, whatever, that's their sole job, so be it. If we need to find that person to back you guys up, that's important, because it gives you the time to get out there and stay on these things. Eventually, people are going to realize we're serious. And when that day comes, we're going to start seeing crime continue to fall, which it has been falling due to our police department, all the good work they've been doing. But it's mainly, a big part of it has to do with your department. And staying on these things are very important. And finding those dogs that are running around with no licenses are the same ones making a mess on our sidewalks and streets, and people don't care. These are the people It's not that we want to fine them, but we just want them to know, please help us make a beautiful city for ourselves and our families. So thank you very much for this report. I guess for myself too, I'd like to see a report every month to see what the activity, and definitely the activity map, so we know what's happening each month and we can follow along, so we can start to see when that decrease finally happens. As you're being aggressive, that's what the end result will be a decrease in this activity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Friend?
If we're gonna get into the complaint mode, I told you about my neighbor. It's still there. He's never talked to anybody from the city.
Which,
I'll
okay.
send you some addresses.
Okay.
And your
That car's been
neighbor's
there
watching
since
TV
I bought my
tonight.
house in 1991.
He's watching. Well, fair warning though.
If my
So-
neighbors are watching, move your car.
Thank you very much. Marty, you had a comment?
Yes, I do want to make a comment because I am the guy who always complains about the signs. So first of all, that's a lot of citations. My comment is this. I don't have any argument with Mike's priority list. Substandard housing always is going to be at the top of that list. And this is not an attack on him, but when he says, well, then I have to go out and take the flavor of the day, whether it's, there's always going to be, when you look at that chart, you look at that pie chart, you see that's not the time spent, that's the amount of citations, I take it, right? That's the amount of citations. It's not the time spent. I understand the time spent is different than the percent of citations. You can have a lot of citations that take almost no time at all, and you can have a couple that take forever. But if you can't do the flavor of the day, that means you don't have enough staff. And, I'm not one to spend money we don't need to, but, that means we don't have enough staff. If we don't have time to do it, we don't have staff. And although I sat through all the thing on the sound wall, and, I'm not a sound wall kind of guy, so that went over my head. But this business of all the signs on the illegally posted everywhere throughout the entire city, especially on the traffic control signs that belong to the city, that are a threat for safety, and they are crazy, go everywhere, and people just leave them up. And this goes back to charging people $5 for a permit for yard sale. Or my idea on the alarm system was to get whatever the initial fee is, $30, whatever it is, and then get about $2 a year to renew it, so that we have an up-to-date list. Otherwise, I don't think anybody ever comes into the police department and says, I moved and I closed my alarm system down. Okay? It's maybe somebody, okay? A few, maybe. Most people, what happens is they pay their $30, they put the alarm system in the system, and if they move and they close their alarm system down, they forget about it. After all, I don't have to pay them again next year. So, if you want to keep a database of all that, and somebody's got to pay for it. And you don't just want to file the things. You want to keep a database so that people can do it, and you get a fair amount of whatever it is, and you identify who's a real nuisance with false alarms. Same one, time after time after time after time. Then you can attack that. And the reason they get charged $115 or whatever it is, and I would be in the same boat because I have an alarm system that's monitored from the outside, is because the fire department or the medics or the police department have to respond. And I assure you that costs more than $115. Okay, put a couple people in a car and run them over there to respond to a false alarm. That's going to be a lot more than $115. So I think you need more code enforcement. I think it's good for the city. I think it's good for the housing values, which come up all the time, and I think it keeping the city clean and safe and all that is a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your report. Mike?
One little thing for Marty's benefit. This morning, 24 signs were taken down off of stop signs. 6 $250 citations went out. Those are non-correctable citations because that is life safety.
Great.
That's what we want to hear.
Outstanding.
I was trying to get you an extra person over here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Item H, I, J, and K,
Move
there's
for
no
adjournment.
business. There's a motion for adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.